Good evening. Welcome to the Farming Podcast. My name is Mbali Nwoko, and I can proudly say that this Farming Podcast is brought to you by none other than Private Property. Thank you so much for being a continued supporter of all our Private Property podcasts. And I'll be a bit biased, particularly this Farming Podcast. It's great to know that we are constantly having individuals who have such a keen interest in the agricultural sector. And today's topic is all about discussing the healthcare sector in the agricultural industry. So whether you're employer or employee, I think this conversation is for you as well. Understanding what benefits as farm workers you are eligible for, and basically understanding the products and services, more importantly, of Agility Health. And we have none other than Marcia Roux, who's the sales executive, who's going to give us all the information regarding their products and services and what they do in terms of healthcare in the agricultural sector. But before I get into it, as every week I say, please continue to like, share, and comment on all our videos, and continue to watch the videos post the live session on our YouTube channel. You can ask questions directly from our YouTube channel, or you can ask questions directly throughout this live podcast, and we'll definitely get the guest or myself to answer any questions that you may have. But to all the ladies, first and foremost, I just want to say happy belated International Women's Day, but more so, happy International Women's Month. Let us celebrate this month by just knowing that we are powerful beyond measure, and that we're just awesome, because I think as women, we always sometimes put ourselves last, when it comes to thinking about ourselves or taking care of ourselves. And I'm so glad that I have Marcia today, a female, to talk to in this International Women's Month. Marcia, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Good evening, Mbali, and thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure being with you on the special day and month that we get to celebrate ourselves as women.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to know about Agility Health. What is it that you do in the agricultural sector?
Yes, Mbali, and very relevant, especially at the time that we are now facing. So Agility is the administrator of Health Squared medical scheme. And throughout the years, we've gained quite a lot of knowledge within certain niche markets, and especially the agricultural market. So being able to really, really look into the market, understanding the industry, the infrastructure, and the demographics that goes within the agricultural landscape, and making sure that we can provide an integrated solution from a healthcare perspective to these farmers. And we know, every farm is very different to another. So the needs are very, very unique when we speak to the farmers and what they require as an employer, and then obviously to look after the well-being of their employees.
So what are the general concerns? Because I know as farmers and farm workers, we work extremely under harsh conditions, directly under the sun, sometimes directly under the rain. So what are the requirements from a health policy or medical aid scheme perspective are most farmers or farm workers inquiring?
Well, there are different aspects based to this. Obviously, a lot of farm workers are exposed to big risks, machinery that they operate, and also then the concept that they normally far located. So their farms are not always quickly to get to a hospital should there be an emergency. So that's one aspect that is very much a big concern, is if something happens on my farm, how quickly can I get my employee to a place of medical excellence? Because your golden hour, that first hour since the event happens, is the most crucial hour, and where treatment needs to be administered. So that's one of the aspects. The second aspect, obviously, is normal general employee well-being, especially in the times that we are going through now and still facing. A lot of employees are uncertain about financial aspects, psychosocial, family aspects that can lead to legal aspects, and they don't have access to these kind of facilities. So to be able to provide an employer as a farmer with an access point where they can get professional advice in these days that we are faced with, and getting a professional just to listen to them and give them the right advice. So that has also become a very, very big need from the farmers at this point in time. And then again, proper healthcare. I think now is the most important time to have proper healthcare in place. Day-to-day visits, we can plan to an extent, but it's the hospital admissions when one becomes severely ill or have a traumatic event that really, really pushes that budget to an absolute limit. And asking yourself the question as an employer and as my duty of care towards my employees, will I be able to fit the bill? And a lot of times we're talking a lot of money, and it's not always that easy. So it is very much a need for the employer, the farmer, to look at what is available there. How can I stay the employer of choice? But also predominantly, how do I retain my quality staff? I don't want to lose these guys that I value. So what can I give them that really, really makes me an employer of choice? And the topic now is healthcare. Providing that benefit really, really goes the extra mile.
Wow. And is your service specifically geared to farmers, or farmers, that being the farmer, the CEO directly, the individual, or does it encompass the workers, or is it just only for farm workers?
No, it's actually available to individuals. Any level. So from your lowest income earner straight up to a CEO. We've got 9 different plan options to cater for all LSM groups. So it doesn't matter in terms of what your need is, where your financial situation, your budget is for healthcare, we will be able to accommodate that. But also then groups. So we've got great solutions for groups and any sector. I think we have, with our history, 80 years of healthcare knowledge that sits within the incumbent of Health Squared, that agriculture was very much a historical thing that we had with the previous medical scheme that amalgamated. And with that, all this knowledge came. So niche, absolutely, understanding the industry, definitely, but able to cater for any employer group within any industry.
Oh, I like the fact that you mentioned different LSMs, right, for the individual. And we know that in farming, we typically hire blue-collar workers. You know, some of them are earning per hour, some of them per day, some of them per task, because, you know, farming is quite different than other sectors. And some of them are earning per season. So are there, policies, I don't know, or schemes, I'm not sure what the right terminology within Agility is, that, you know, different LSM groups can take up based on the different structure of their employment?
Absolutely. So what we do within Agility, our methodology is to really analyze, understand what the requirements is in terms of the LSMs, in terms of the budget, what is the employer as well as the employees looking for, and then building an integrated solution. So what that would mean is in our suite of services and solutions that we have, we've got healthcare cover, which is a short-term product for low-income employees, and where the employer will have more peace of mind if they have unlimited access to a provider network for day-to-day care. And then also the different levels of healthcare medical aid option plans that we have, from our lowest option, which is called Foundation, which most of the workers on a farm would typically opt for. It's a fantastic plan with the salary income band denominator, but it gives them access to unlimited hospitalization and day-to-day. And then also looking at perhaps savings vehicles to be able for the employer to cater from a monthly basis via debit order into a savings vehicle, and should something happen to an employee, to then use those funds to assist them. So very, very niche in that sphere as well. And as I said, it's not a one size fits all. It's really in terms of what are your needs. Healthcare has changed in
Yeah.
terms of in the past we would say, well, I've got this plan option, give me something similar.
Okay.
So it's changed. The questions now become, what is important to you? Are you budget driven or are you benefit driven? If you are benefit driven, you're going to look for more richer benefits, but that will definitely have a different contribution. Or if you're budget driven, what can we build to give you that ultimate value? You want to see your value in your benefits versus the contribution you are paying. And that's become a trend. South Africans are actually very, very well informed about what it is that they want. And they want to see the value coming back for what they're paying. So that is the key these days, is not just providing a benefit and a solution, but actually understanding what the requirements are. And then building from there, identifying gaps through trend analysis that we also do for our employers, called a dashboard report. So quarterly, we will do an analysis of the trends within their healthcare expenditure, and then pick up possible risks that they can be faced with, diabetes, those type of things. So then you can start educating your staff as well. So medical aid really becomes the beginning. It's not the end solution. It's the foundation to make sure that you've got adequate cover, but it's building from there and advising that you really then start getting the benefit and knowing how to use your healthcare optimally.
Oh, and with agility, the services that you provide, is it only specific to medical care, or are there other benefits within your organization that you are providing to farmers and the agricultural sector?
We've got a broad solution, absolutely, Mbali. We obviously have Health Squared, our medical aid that we administer, but then we also have short-term products within the healthcare industry, your gap and co-pays. I think that is a dreaded word that people, that's that absolute grudge purchase, because we cannot go without that anymore. Whenever you're faced with a hospital admission, one of these two are going to come up unexpectedly and pull on your pocket strings for that extra money. So we do have that option available. We also have retirement funding, provident funding, and life cover that we also provide to groups. So it can definitely be a holistic solution, not just from the healthcare, but from a life perspective as well.
Right. I've got a question here, and as you're talking, I'm just thinking of a specific incident or situation that I've had in the past, with employees. And when it comes to speaking about the health and the well-being of employees, I find a lot, especially, having coming from corporate and then now being an employer to a vast number of blue-collar workers, and people in the community where I was first farming in back in 2016, 2017, they just come from a different school of thought. And I can imagine, just thinking about other farmer friends that I have in the more rural areas, the people that they employ also come from a different school of thought, and when it comes to specifically medical care or health care, there's almost this, I don't know what word to call it, but there's almost this reluctance from employees, sometimes wanting to take care, wanting to be part of any medical aid scheme. Firstly, they'll think, it's just charring a lot of their money from their income. Yeah. But most importantly, you mentioned things like training or educating farmers and their health workers on things like diabetes, et cetera, et cetera. And I've had some issues where I used to struggle with employing females, because almost every month I would have a low staff head count when it comes to production, especially on those very high harvesting seasons. And now, so I know I'm going off a tangent, but I just want to give you a context, is that I struggled to employ females, right? Because every month they would have to stand in long queues at the local clinic for their monthly checkups or for their children, etc. So now my question is, firstly, have you had clients or farmers who've come to you and said, Marcia, we'd like to have a comprehensive healthcare solution for our farm workers? And you find that once you start offering the packages and maybe the farm owners communicate this to farm workers, has there been a reluctance from farm workers to take any medical packages? Because there's almost like this taboo in
Yes.
peri-urban areas, people, things like it's sometimes very hard to even get employees to disclose that maybe they've got diabetes, or they're diabetic, or they've got an asthma problem, therefore they can't work in the pack house because it's too cold. And I've also had instances where some employees just wouldn't tell me that maybe, for example, they've got low blood pressure, and therefore working outside in a hot summer's day is just not the ideal environment for them. But they keep that quiet because they're hungry. They need to earn a living, And if harvesting is the only way they could get an income, they would keep quiet about that. So have you had instances like that with your farm owners wanting to give this health benefit to farm workers? I mean, we know that we are living in the global pandemic, and, maybe just the reception wasn't that positive from the employees.
You've hit the nail on the head, Mbali. It's absolutely what you've said now is the reality. So there's quite a few aspects that we can unpack here. The first thing, education. Education is key. And I think that distrust in terms of what am I getting comes from not being educated in how to use it. For somebody like me that's been 18 years plus in the healthcare industry, it's second nature. But we tend to forget that the normal man and woman on the street do not always understand these things. Like anything, your insurance, your life policies, it's quite daunting. And you are looking to somebody to trust, to educate you. So I must say also, reluctantly first, when we come to a site, you can see that the employees are a little bit of hesitant. Is this just, again, a product that I'm going to spend money on, but I'm not going to see the value? So that becomes a key thing. And my team and I spend quite a lot of time on site with the take on and the education. And we also prefer to always make sure that we can translate the message, because it's just easier when we hear it in our mother tongue, it makes sense. So it's really caring about the individual at the end of that line that needs to make that financial decision. And people tend to stay with the product and use a service when they fully understand what it brings. So that's one part of it. So education, absolutely key when we deal with medical aid and these events. Then also the absenteeism management, explaining to individuals that, for employers especially, to curb your absenteeism, have the right services available that caters for your employees, where they do not have to stand in rows for a whole day and they need to come back the next day to get their medication. This is 2 days of work. They are stressed because I'm taking 2 days off of the farm. This is not good for me, but I have to get my medication. And you're putting your employee in such a difficult position because now you are loading stress onto them as well. Now, psychosocial aspects happen. So that's where the employee well-being program comes in as well. So giving them a vehicle. If I am a diabetic, how can I treat it? But I don't want to go speak to HR, because what if HR tells my leader and they think I am not capable and I'm replaceable? I can't lose my job. These are realities. And through our employment wellness program that comes automatically complimentary for groups, this is the vehicle where they can then speak to a professional and find out how to deal with these aspects and getting the right advice in terms of their own health care and how to look after themselves. So yes, it is all about education. I think, any product can be offered to an individual, but if individual does not walk out there feeling comfortable in how to use this, they'll never be happy with it. So it's the after sales that is absolutely of importance, but also having a dedicated team that is there at your beck and call. So typically what we do, we have service consultants. So if we talk from a group perspective, our service consultant will be there on site with the take on and education, as long as the employer and the employee feels that they now fully understand how to access and utilize these benefits. And thereafter, being there regularly, once a month, for half a day, depending on what the size of the group is, to be available to these employees so that they've got a professional person that they can go sit across from and find out, how do I claim for this? I need to go to the hospital, but I don't know where to start. I've never done this before. I've never been exposed to private healthcare. How does it work? And having a person on the other side of the table holding your hand and guiding you through this, that becomes the key. Otherwise, there will always be a reluctance. Absolutely.
And with the medical scheme that you offer, especially speaking on farm workers specifically, does it cover just the individual, meaning the farm owner, or are there schemes or packages or options where it can cover the individual and the immediate family?
Absolutely. That would be the individual's choice. So normally with a group environment, the employer will say that they would subsidize the employee as the main member, and the employee that then has the choice if they want to put their spouse and children on there, but that is available as well. So again, packaged according to what they require and their family requires.
And I'm just thinking, you must have seen it all. Hey, if you're constantly traveling throughout different farm sites, you must be seeing and experiencing it all, because you also mentioned when you answered my question about 2 minutes ago that it's all about education, right? Educating your farm workers, the importance of having a medical aid, life cover, etc. And I know just specifically on life cover, there's also this taboo of, oh, are you insuring me? Are you, as my employer, going to get all the funds when I die?
Yes.
And some people don't also want to disclose to their wives or to their husbands that I've got this policy at work and I've got a life cover, because of fears for a number of things. So I'm just thinking, you must have seen it all and have dealt with very, very bizarre cases.
I have indeed, but I think it's the love of what we do. It's really making sure, I've got a very strong belief and attitude towards healthcare for everybody, and that individuals actually have that access. So it becomes that love and compassion for individuals, and understanding that where they're coming from, we all have different life experiences, we all have different worries, and actually taking the time and invest that time to understand where they're coming from, and then providing them with the information, documentation, or proof that they need to feel secure. Because I think sometimes we lose that. You buy a product, you buy a service, and okay, what was that number again that I have to phone? And it becomes daunting. It becomes daunting. I'm one of those individuals. If it doesn't work for me, I'm a natural blonde, so it must be easy for me. Otherwise, I'm definitely not going to continue. So we all go through it. We all have those experiences, and it's actually just being have some empathy for individuals and understanding why they're asking those questions. And the reluctancy is there because of something that happened, something that they're worried about. And it's there where we need to start understanding, what is it that makes you feel uncertain and uncomfortable about this. All right, let me unpack it for you. And thereafter, if you still don't feel that this is right for you, then that is the individual's choice. But as a professional in this industry, it's our duty to make sure that these individuals fully understand what they have, how do they access it, until they're comfortable. So I literally hold hands until that first doctor's visit, the first time you go get your medicine, just so that they have the experience and see that, oh, wow, okay, if you follow these steps, it's actually so much better, and it's actually beneficial to me to make use of this.
Wow, thank you for that point, Marcia. But before I continue, I just want to encourage to all the viewers at home to please interact and engage with us. I'm speaking to Marcia Roux, for any of you that have joined quite a bit late, and we're talking about the healthcare system in the agri sector, and most importantly, the benefits thereof. And joining me on this conversation tonight is Marcia Roux, who's the sales executive for Health Squared, where they have a medical scheme product specifically tailored within the agricultural sector. So if you have questions for Marcia, please do send them through, and we are more than happy to answer them. Marcia, just coming back onto your service offering, I'm just, I haven't heard of Health Squared before, and I think the product offering is quite unique because, again, based on the small instances or case studies that we've alluded to just now, we know that agriculture is quite a unique industry, with quite a unique set of individuals working under a very unique set of circumstances. And I like the fact that you are directly addressing the needs and the challenges that farmers like myself are faced with when it has to come to extending medical services to employees. And then, we don't sometimes get a positive reception because of just the taboo of around health and well-being that comes with the sector. But you mentioned earlier on in the podcast that, the health sector has changed, or the medical aid industry has changed. And part of that is because the driving force has been the global pandemic. How has the global pandemic impacted your business since the start of lockdown in March 2020?
Good question. So obviously with the pandemic, I think more than ever, individuals and employers realize the importance of adequate healthcare. When one does get COVID, do you have adequate care to be admitted to a hospital and get the right care and treatment that you need? So it's a catch-22. We've seen that all of a sudden employee well-being is very, very on top of mind for employers, to make sure that the employees have some outlet from a professional perspective where they can speak to people. But then also, how do you deal with this financially? So being prepared, looking at your financial stability, your budget, and still be able to assist these employees with the right option. And I think what becomes then important, especially during the last year that we've had and continuing, COVID's not going to go away. It's a way of us adapting to this and making sure that in any unfortunate event that we do have the right cover to obviously be okay ourselves, our family. As a lot of us are the breadwinners, so if anything happens to you, it's got a massive impact on your family. So that has become very, very much key, more than ever. And with that, hand in hand, is then having solutions, not one solution that is accessible to some but not to others, and having different options to say, all right, what is the most important thing now for you? It's not, your teeth are important, don't get me wrong, but it is hospitalization. Your day-to-days, going to the dentist, going to the doctor, those are things we can plan for. And as I said previously, if an unfortunate event, that an unplanned event happens and you have to go to a hospital, you want to be assured that you're on the right care and that you are going to be looked after. And that is really the key thing that came out throughout this pandemic, and where most of our clients, also in the agri industry, needed advice from us. And hence the fact that we then took the executive decision to give a part of our employee wellbeing program as a complementary benefit, because this is something that the employer can definitely give to the employees, open it up and have them get more peace of mind in terms of those psychosocial, health, legal and financial questions that we have.
I actually like your hands-on approach, to be quite honest, with having to really be on the ground and speaking to farmers and farm workers, because still on the topic of COVID, there have been reports of people in the townships, people in rural areas, really starting to isolate community members or fellow employees, once they discovered that an employee had COVID at some stage and now has since recovered, or has a family member that has COVID, and there's a certain element of discrimination and stigmatization. So I'm glad that you're actually on the ground, because I can imagine, I mean, there's so much panic already about the pandemic. There's panic already in terms of the food prices that are really unstable right now, and just the immense pressure that farmers work on. We definitely would need hands on deck from other service providers like yourself in actually calming and easing the situation regarding the pandemic, and educating, most importantly, our workforce in the stigmatization and the importance of maintaining and looking after one's health. My other follow-up question, and I'm supposed to just conclude our conversation this evening, is have you seen now a surge of clients that are taking up medical packages or policies on behalf of themselves and their farm workers because of what we have seen now with the pandemic? Is there a surge in the healthcare industry for people now, actually taking their medical insurance seriously?
Absolutely. It's become a reality, and I think ever more that becomes a critical thing, because at the end of the day, for the employer, if there is a possible case of COVID or an illness, if this employee does not have access to proper health care, it has a massive return on investment impact for the employer, and it drives up your absenteeism. So what they've realized is the better care you provide to your employees, the better return on investment you get. Because now, instead of 2 days standing at a clinic trying to get first the consultation and then get the medication, can now literally be done in 2 hours. So it has a massive impact, and it reduces the stress of the employee, worrying that if somebody finds out they had COVID, what are the next steps? And I think with the advice that our advisors on our employee wellbeing program brings that peace of mind. They cannot diagnose you, but they can definitely, in terms of you're telling them, give you advice that you can then follow through. And also on the education, we've done quite a lot of wellness days and talks at a lot of our clients where our medical experts and doctors that actually work at Agility and Health Squared had these conversations with the staff, the stigmatism around it, and giving staff more peace of mind in terms of how do we deal with this, not just from a workplace environment, but a social one, a cultural one. What do we say? What shouldn't we be scared of? And how can we then educate in our community further, getting the right answers?
Wow. We have a comment here from Martha. She says, I'm loving this conversation, and I have not been able to identify the farming sector with this caring side. I am really pleased. Wow, thank you, Martha. Lovely comment. And I think I echo Martha's words to say, it's an element of farming that we hardly, look at or put a lens in terms of the health care of our workers. And I think more so as farmers, it's something that we should consider based on the fact that we work in such extreme conditions, and just educating our employees on the importance of having medical or medical or health care, I think just to conclude, like maybe I said this before, but, as you keep talking, so many things keep popping up. But any last comments or just some word of advice that you could leave us with tonight with regards to health and just looking after ourselves, and most importantly, just maybe expressing the importance of why healthcare is needed in the sector.
So, yes, I can't believe we come to an end. It was such a fantastic discussion. We should do this again.
Yes.
But what I really would say as a thought of leaving the viewers and listeners with is prevention is definitely better than cure. So when you go for your normal checks, which this can be done at a pharmacy at really minimal cost, get your blood pressure checked. For the ladies, do the checks that you have to do. The men, your checks. Get the flu vaccinations. Do the immunizations. These are really aspects that can already boost your health, and make sure that if there is something detected in a pap smear, a mammogram, a prostate antigen test, at least the sooner you detect it, the easier it is to then deal with the situation. So taking a bit more care of ourselves, eat that apple a day, drink the water, keep your body healthy, because at some point your body's going to need that back from you again to take care of it. And if you're not sure, and if you are looking for cover, we are there to assist. That is our job. That is what we do. And I will be more than happy to speak to any viewer that's interested to further this discussion or look for proper cover, to deal with them directly, and definitely help with the solution, because it is the time now to make sure that we do have adequate cover in these uncertain times. And it doesn't always have to cost an arm and a leg.
Very valuable advice, Marcia. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time this evening. We'll definitely put your details on the YouTube channel once the video has gone onto our playlist, so that people can contact you directly and just ask more specific questions based on their need. But thank you so much for your time this evening.
No, thank you, Mbali. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you tonight.
Likewise. That was Marcia Roux, the Sales Executive at Agility Health. And today we spoke about the importance of healthcare for our farmers and our farm workers, just basically anybody working in a farm, in an agribusiness, in a pack shed, in a pack house, on the field, off the field. At the end of the day, we are employees, we are workers, we are humans, and our health, especially throughout this global pandemic, is of paramount importance. So you heard what she said, take care of your health, hydrate, and obviously consider your needs as well as your family needs during this time. And so if you enjoyed our conversation, please share this live with anybody that you feel could benefit from this conversation. Like I said, and I keep on emphasizing every single week on the show, that all our podcasts are aired on YouTube post the live, because I always get some DMs from you guys saying that I missed the show. I know that it's the pandemic. Everybody's in lockdown and everybody's working nonstop. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it seems like the message is being missed. But trust me, we've got you, and all the videos are on our YouTube channel. Specifically for this podcast, it's under the Farming Playlist podcast under the Private Property YouTube channel. But thank you for your comments this evening, and thank you for joining us live. I will be with you once again on Thursday. And good night and God bless. See you again soon.